Today, I'm going to teach you how to build your first Warhammer model. Although this can seem intimidating at first, it is really quite easy once you understand how to do it. We are going to build a Saurus warrior from the Age of Sigmar Seraphon Spearhead box. As you open your box, you'll first need to pull out your instructions. I recommend glancing over them before you start building any of the models. The instructions will sometimes include certain details specific to some of the models in your box. Here we've gone through the instructions until we found the model that we want to build. There are often different instructions that vary just a little bit as you build the different models in the unit. While oftentimes models include enough bits and pieces to add variance, each model in a unit is usually posed differently, so it's important to pay attention and use the correct pieces for each model. Once you've found the instructions for the model that you want to build, you'll need to locate the sprues that include the pieces for your model. In this case, the model that we're building has pieces located on 2 different sprues. Now is the time to get your tools out and ready. These are the tools that I like to use when I'm building my models. On the left is a model nipper. This tool is used to accurately cut the pieces of your model away from the sprue. Next, you'll need a sharp razor blade. I highly recommend getting a hobbying razor blade. The longer handle allows you to safely, accurately, and easily manipulate the razor blade. Next, you'll need your glue. I like to use 2 types of glue when building my models. I use Citadel's plastic glue for gluing the actual bits of the model together. This stuff is perfectly designed to work with this plastic. The bottle I have here is nice because it has a long applicator that allows me to precisely put the glue where it is needed. I also like to have super glue on hand. I usually use the super glue to simply glue non-plastic parts to the model. In this case, I'll be using the super glue to glue a little magnet to the bottom of the base. Finally, I always have some modeling putty available. I find that putty is extremely useful for attaching parts of the model that we aren't ready to glue yet. I use this to attach pieces such as shields that will get in the way as you try and paint your model later on. The putty allows you to securely attach these parts until you're ready to remove them to paint. Now, we're ready to build our model. Here, we are building Warrior 10A, and we are looking for parts 64, 66, and 65. We have found part 64. Now we will use our model nipper to cut the piece from the sprue. As I cut this piece out, you'll notice that I always place the flat part of the nipper tool towards the model piece. This ensures a close and accurate cut. I'll continue to carefully cut away each connection point until we get the piece clear of the sprue. I'll repeat this process until I've cut out pieces 65 and 66. This next step is really important. Once you've got your pieces cut out, you want to inspect your pieces and find the leftover bits from the sprue. This is where your razor blade comes in use. Carefully take your razor blade and use it to shave off the leftover bits. If you don't do this step, you could have problems assembling your model later, as the pieces may not fit tightly together. Now, I'll share with you a tip that I wish I would have known earlier on. If you inspect the pieces of your model, you'll sometimes find prevalent mold lines. These mold lines can really interrupt the flow of your model if you don't take them off. I've found that the easiest way to do this is to simply take the back side of your razor and use that to carefully shave off the mold lines. Be careful not to ruin the finer details, but don't be afraid to work it until that mold line is gone. Now that we've gone through and cleaned up all the cutout pieces, it's time to glue them together. Make sure to carefully follow the instructions here. The order in which you assemble the model is important. If you go out of order, your pieces may not fit together correctly. We will use our Citadel plastic glue. This glue is quite strong, so I recommend you do this in a well-ventilated area. This glue chemically melts the plastic so that the pieces weld together. This makes it permanent, so be careful when you're building your model. It usually takes a few minutes for the glue to set, so you have some time to adjust your pieces. I also caution you to be precise when applying the glue. If you get this glue on details, it could very well melt the details off. Before I apply any glue, I always dry fit the pieces together. This ensures that I understand how the pieces go together and that the pieces are properly cleaned up so that they have a tight fit. Using the applicator on your glue, carefully apply the glue to both sides of your model. I usually wait about 10 seconds to allow the glue time to start working. After about 10 seconds, go ahead and push your pieces together. Once you've got your pieces correctly oriented, hold them together tightly for another 10 to 20 seconds or until they are joined. Repeat this process, carefully following the instructions until you have all major parts of your model glued together. Now go ahead and assemble the rest of the model. For this warrior, I think I'll be able to glue everything together except for the shield. I'd like to leave the shield off so that it is much easier to later paint the warrior's body, as well as the back of the shield. For the shield, I'll use a small piece of the modeling putty to attach it to the model. This should hold the shield in place well enough to play with until you're ready to paint the model. Once the model is built, it's time to attach it to its base. This is the only step that I usually do out of order. I do this because sometimes, once the model is built, you realize that it would be easier to paint without being glued to its base. In such cases, I again use the putty to temporarily secure the model to its base. In this case, I can go ahead and glue the model to its base, as it will be easy enough to paint the underside of the model with the base glued on. As mentioned earlier in the video, I glue magnets to my bases. This allows me to safely transport my models by magnetizing them to my transport case. We have now completed building our Saurus warrior. It's as easy as that. Thank you for your support in watching this video, and I hope it's been of some help to you. Let us know down below in the comments what tutorials you would like to see and how we can be of help. Good luck on your hobbying journey.